Welcome to the Pet Loss Companion. I'm Ken Dolan-Del Vecchio. I'm here with my friend and co-author, Nancy Saxton-Lopez. And this is a program that we do live on Facebook and YouTube every week on Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. We run for about a half hour, and then it's available for replay and also on a whole bunch of different podcast outlets. The program is an expansion, really, upon the book that we wrote a few years back called The Pet Loss Companion, Healing Advice from Family Therapists Who Lead Pet Loss Groups. And that book was derived from many, many years, 30 plus years in Nancy's case and about 14 years in my case of facilitating pet loss groups. So we tried to take everything that we learned from the sharing that went on in those meetings and compile it into a very compact form that would be helpful for people who are going through the loss of a beloved pet. This medium that we're on right now allows us to extend our reach and to communicate with you. So please do write to us. Feel free to write to us, and you can reach me at kendv@gmail.com. And you can reach Nancy at nsaxtonlopez at csmpc.com. That's nsaxtonlopez at csmpc.com. When you write to us, if you tell us a story of your own situation, we will write back to you. One or both of us will write back to you. We also wonder if you'll allow us to share it. So please let us know if it'd be okay with you for us to share it. We only share using first names. And also you can let us know if you are willing to have us share it, whether there are certain parts of your story that maybe you would prefer were not shared. Of course, you don't have to do that. You don't have to share it. We're going to write back to you.
We certainly will get back to you anyway, really. I mean, we'd like to do that right away, if possible.
So you can support our work in a number of ways. All of this is written on the description under the video or under the audio recording. So Venmo, PayPal, a monthly subscription. By the way, we have a new subscriber named Lily, and thank you so much, Lily, for that subscription. And also, this program is a friend of Dakin Humane Society in Springfield, Mass. You can learn more at dakinhumane.org. That's DAKINHUMANE.org. Dakin sponsors a monthly cost-free Zoom pet loss support group that I facilitate. It is usually on the second Tuesday of the month and runs 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. You will find an RSVP link in the program description, and the next meeting will be on April 11th. And you're very welcome to join from anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world. We've had people from all over the place, and it's always been a really poignant and helpful conversation for those who participate. And finally, please consider pressing the subscribe button on YouTube if you find this program valuable, because when you do that, it affects the algorithm on YouTube in a way that helps other people who would benefit from this resource to see it come up earlier on the list when they ask for support. So please do subscribe if you think that this program offers value. Nancy, you want to start us?
Yeah. And I also think you said that the group is free.
Oh, yes. Thank you for reminding me. Yeah, the group is 100% free. So it doesn't cost you anything. And again, it's sponsored by Dakin Humane, and it's also sponsored by one of their sponsors, and you can learn more about that when you RSVP.
So we have a lovely story, another one of these heartbreaking but heartwarming stories from Melica about her Ollie. And it's interesting because of, like all of our stories, pretty much, these animals mean so much to us. They're part of our lives. They give us such comfort. They go through so much with us. It's, again, you can't have a relationship with a human being like you can with a dog or a cat or another companion animal. So I'm going to start. Ken and I are going to share reading the story. Dear Ken and Nancy, I apologize that this is long. Please know that you do not need to read it all yourself, which we do, or on your podcast. We are. However, the detailed stories on your podcast have provided me with great comfort, so I thought maybe mine could do the same if you decide to share. You are welcome to, and it would be an honor to have Ollie's story on your podcast. I write this after listening to your podcast pretty much constantly since saying goodbye to my little muffin, my tricolor corgi named Ollie. Your podcast has been the only thing that feels like a balm in my now very empty condo. I have been obsessed with animals, dogs in particular, my entire life. Losing my first fur baby feels like it has torn my soul from my body. I never anticipated getting a purebred dog. I'd volunteered at a shelter since the day I turned 15 and was allowed to. However, many years later, I contacted a corgi breeder just to see. I was in a tumultuous relationship at the time, and the comfort of the breed of dog that I grew up with was beckoning. I had attempted to find rescue corgis to no avail. The breeder emailed back that she was booked out over a year. I felt a sense of relief that I could stay true to my values and find a shelter puppy. However, a couple hours later, she called me. She was traveling near my town with a corgi pup that a family had just decided they couldn't take. Did I want him? As soon as I saw the picture, I knew he was mine. It felt too serendipitous. If I had contacted her any other day, he would have gone to someone else. But I contacted her mere hours before she desperately needed to drop him off somewhere. At the time, I lived at a ski resort in Colorado, and Ollie had great adventures barreling through the snow, climbing mountains, and chasing golf balls that floated in the streams. My tumultuous relationship with the boyfriend ended. Ollie stayed. He was my rock, my levity when the world felt like too much. Just before COVID, I moved back home to Missouri. A few years slipped by, and I could not believe that Ollie was turning 5. This seemed far too old, and I told him he needed to live at least 30 more years, although rationally I assumed it'd be probably more like 10, or a few more if I was lucky. Never, never did I expect that he had only 1 year left. About 4 months ago, Ollie was not interested in the popcorn that he always begged for me to share with him. While everyone around me said not to worry, I had a sense that a dark cloud was descending for months, although I could not figure out what. When the weekend ended and he was still not himself, I knew something was wrong. I was terrified that he might have eaten something and needed surgery. I was also concerned that I was being a helicopter parent again, and that absolutely nothing was wrong. When the emergency veterinarian told me that he most likely had hemangiosarcoma, I think I said that right, an incredibly aggressive blood cancer, and that if we did not remove his spleen, we would need to say goodbye immediately. I figured she was speaking about some other dog, not my Ollie, not Ollie who was only 5, who was the wrong breed, the wrong size, the wrong age to get this cancer, not Ollie who had been given 2 walks every day and the best food and the most love, not Ollie who I had helicoptered in so many ways to ensure his safety. Yet now he had something that I could not protect him from. After the splenectomy, I went into a flurry of research. I learned to make him human-grade food. I added supplements that even the vet decided to add to their cancer treatment regime. We pursued chemo with quality of life as a priority. Ollie seemed happy. He still went for walks, still loved to train and play brain games, still loved his yak cheese with a passion. But I was lost. This was not supposed to happen, not to my innocent baby, not to the one of my very few family members. As an only child, Ollie was one of only 5 family members I had left. The prospect of losing him, especially of him suffering before I lost him, was excruciating. I found myself reaching out multiple times each night to ensure he was alive. I was constantly trying to assess if he was happy, if he was in pain. The unknown amount of time left made it feel like the grim reaper was constantly watching over our shoulders. I cried on a daily basis. and occasionally scream myself hoarse in the car so Ollie would not have to hear. The cancer progressed faster than anyone had predicted, ruthlessly ignoring all of my attempts to out-research it. Ollie's final week was not anticipated, but in the best possible way. He seemed healthier than he had in months. He played, he was goofy, he was in love with all the food. I actually said the night before he passed that it seemed like maybe he was actually healing. A few hours later, a tumor ruptured, and we were preparing to say goodbye. The only thing I wanted more than keeping him with me forever was ensuring he did not suffer 1 second more than necessary. The goodbye happened swiftly for his sake, but left me unsure of what happened, desperately needing to go back in time to give him more hugs, more playtime, more presents. If only I had known it would be so soon.
As a graduate student in marriage and family therapy, I was overwhelmed with work, internship, classes, and taking care of Ollie. Sometimes I am consumed with guilt that I could have done more and that I could have done less homework and more time with Ollie, more snuggles, more playing. I wonder constantly if I caused this. Did growing up on a golf course cause his cancer? Did my anxiety cause him too much stress? Did I feed him the wrong food? I will never know this. I know, yet it haunts me. It has only been a few days, and yet he already feels far away from me. I'm terrified of forgetting how soft his ears were, how his feet always smelled like Fritos, how he would paw at me. I think we've heard that before, actually,
Yes, I think we
when,
have to.
when he wanted more belly scratches. I do not want to sweep his fur off my floor, to move any of the toys he has left around the house, including the last cardboard box that he destroyed looking for the treat inside. I sleep with
Yes.
his stuffed lobster in my bed in the spot he used to be. I carry his collar in my purse during the day and in my pocket when I go for walks. I talk to him, I write to him, I ask everyone I know if they think we will see our pets again someday. They all say yes, and yet it does not feel like a certain enough truth. I need to know, and yet I can't. I obsessively look for signs that he is out there somewhere. It feels unbearable to not know if I will see him again. I do know this. I asked Ollie's spirit for signs if he was able. I've realized that I cannot plan these, although I catch myself begging him for specific ones, like maybe some paw prints in the snow next to my footprints. As far as I can tell, it doesn't work this way. But yesterday, on a hike in his honor, the forest was covered in turkey tail mushrooms. Anyone who has been through the agony of hemangiosarcoma knows that these are one of the few treatments to offer even a sliver of solace. During Ollie's treatment, I always said these mushrooms were his savior, something to give us hope. I had always wanted to see them in nature, and here they were everywhere. Last night, I dreamed that I was in bed alone. Ollie was gone. Some force pulled me off the bed into Ollie's bed on the floor. He always slept with me, except for that last night when he wanted to be on the floor. And when I was in his bed, I realized that all was safe and good. I do not know if this was him, but I know it felt more real than most dreams I've ever had. This is perhaps the most important story, and I hesitate to share it because even experienced it myself, it still sounds a bit crazy. But I want to share it because stories like this on your podcast have given me hope, and maybe I can do that for someone else. One night, a couple of weeks before we said goodbye, I was opening the sliding door to my backyard. What looked like a white ball of light floated over the threshold into the house. I jumped, but figured my eyes were messing with me. But then Ollie went bonkers. He raced around the light, then around the house, whining and barking. He continued to run back and forth from the back door to where the light seemed to go. I've never seen him act like this. I actually thought maybe it had been a mouse and searched under all of the furniture. No mouse. I told friends about this because it had seemed like such an intense and strange moment, but I had no idea what had happened. After Ollie passed, I remembered the moment and Googled what it meant to see a white ball of light. Not that Google knows all, but it told me that a white orb represents guardian spirits, often coming to provide comfort. It said that pets are particularly sensitive to seeing these energies. During my cancer research, I had read what you also mentioned on your podcast, that often deceased relatives come to visit and help the dying with transition. I thought this sounded comforting, so I'd asked my grandpa if, when it was time, he could help Ollie cross over and make sure he had someone there. I wonder now if that white light was my grandpa coming to be with Ollie. I sure hope so, because that means maybe one day in the future, Ollie can be the white light that comes to be with me. I've learned so much from Ollie, my little guru. I knew he would teach me to say goodbye. I only had hoped it would be much further down the road. I hope that he knows I loved him unconditionally and always will. Thank you for all the support, love, and hope you offer those of us who connect so deeply with animals. To anyone who hears this story, thank you for listening to my Ollie Bear's story, and know that you are not alone.
What a lovely story,
Really, really
right?
beautiful, really beautiful. And there's so much content here
Right.
that you know she she talks about doing everything she
Possible.
possibly could to keep him healthy, that she's helicoptering as she describes it. And fate had other ideas. And I just feel like that's so
It's
important
such a
to
theme.
emphasize, because
Yeah.
you can do everything right and then some.
Yeah.
And there are factors that are just way beyond our ability to anticipate or control. And that's what happens. That's what happens in life a lot. And that's what happens in these situations with our pets. We do everything we possibly can to give them a healthy, happy, energetic, adventurous life. And then something like this hits. And
Happens.
as she said, he's not the kind of dog where this would be something you'd have to worry about or something you might think would be genetically predictable. It's not like that. And yet it happened.
Well, it goes back to the control issue, right?
Yep.
Because
Yep.
we believe, or we look at, we get our beautiful animals, and those of us who really love animals and they're part of our family, like she said, right? I only
Hmm.
have 5 family members, and Ollie is one of them. But what happens with that is there's this need and mission to do everything possible to love them and to take care of them and to give them what they need and to be there as much as possible. Now, after he had died, right, she said, did I give him enough cuddles? Did I give him
Yeah.
enough of the right food? Did I? And, yes, 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 yes. Well, Malika, you did. But Melica, I think it is. I'm sorry if I pronounce that wrong. But you did. You gave him everything possible that you could have given him. But that doesn't take away the fact that we have guilt. And
Yeah. And also she's doing all of this. She said, I couldn't out research the
that's
cancer.
right.
I thought that was really powerful, that she was doing everything imaginable. She was doing all this research, and she actually added an element to the treatment that her dog's oncologist appropriated. So she was doing something with the food that was apparently really something that would be useful for other patients as well. And so, and yes, all of the recriminations. Did my anxiety cause too much stress? Did I feed him the wrong food? I mean, it's amazing. It's just inescapable for us when our dog or cat or other beloved animal passes. We just have to go over and over and over. Did we do enough?
Yeah, did we do everything? And we got it. We did get a comment from Anne. Thank you, Anne. And
Yeah.
her comment is very true. Control is an illusion, right? And you can't control everything.
Yes.
And you are
It's
correct.
very
Although
honorable. We can.
although we want that, but
Yep.
we cannot ever really have that. Illness and death will come, and we really can't stop it, even though we can try our best to, you know.
And then
I also like the orb thing, right? I mean,
yes, I mean, I
we
think it's very, so you go on. You say what
well,
you want to
we
say about
have had people in the past, right? Way back a year or so ago, year maybe almost 2 years. Sally sent us the ring
oh yeah, the
video,
picture. Yeah.
right? That
Yeah.
there was an orb, and then there were two orbs. She had two dogs, I believe, that
Hmm.
had died
Hmm.
somewhat close together. And, this was on her camera and she sent it to us. So I think that that was really helpful,
Hmm.
to
Hmm.
know this is what, she was looking for, that, Ollie is with her or will visit her, right?
Yeah. Well, one of the things that the way she opens this, she says, this is perhaps the most important story, and I hesitate to share it because even
Right,
experience it myself, it still sounds a bit crazy. This is very typical when people have these paranormal experiences, and I've had this kind of experience too. It feels like you kind of can't believe it, even though you experienced it,
right.
and so it feels like an experience that's outside of what's every day, to the extent that you don't really remember it as
Yeah,
being
it's like a dream or something,
same.
right? And you're
Yeah,
like, did that
even
really happen?
though you're clear that, you remember it, you witnessed it, but we're so programmed to disbelieve certain perceptions that I thought that was very important what she said. It still sounds a bit crazy even to herself.
Right.
And I think that's the way that many people experience these things, even though they actually have, seen what they've seen or felt what they felt. It's like, did that really happen?
That's
And
right.
so it's one of the reasons that it's so hard to grapple with this kind of extra normal experience, because it's exactly that. It's outside the norm, and we don't really have a
Yeah.
way to hold on to it that feels like it makes sense or like it's even sane to us.
Well,
And yet it happens.
she was also propelled to go to his bed, right?
Yeah,
And then
yeah,
felt
yeah,
much better being
yeah,
in his bed, and that
yeah,
everything was okay,
yeah,
you know.
yeah.
So, which look, not everyone will have these experiences, although we have talked from time to time that you may hear them, you may see them,
Yep.
you may feel them around. If you do believe in the spirituality of this, I mean, for me, I do, and I've
Mhm.
seen my Hank, and I think it's just such a comfort,
Yeah,
right? It's
yeah,
just a real
yeah,
comfort.
yep. And I tell you, last night, both my husband and I had dreams in which our little
About
Abigail
Abigail
was
at
present.
the same time
It was
that
really
she
strange.
visited.
And I was talking to a friend of mine who is I consider to be sort of more involved with Wicca or that kind of different spirituality, and she said, "Well, that's for sure a visit."
Yeah, I think it is.
And so again, it's a gift when that
Yeah,
happens. It's a gift. And
it is.
Anne wrote us another note. She said, I
Yes, I
also
just
lost
saw that.
my Welsh corgi a few weeks ago.
Oh,
I
we're
too miss
sorry.
his soft ears. He was 14 years old and had gone blind, deaf, and had nasal cancer.
Oh,
So we're sorry
so
to hear that.
sorry,
And
and
it's nice to have you with us for this conversation.
yes, he
And
has a corgi, and this
yeah.
little Ollie was a corgi too. Yeah.
And also the mushrooms, that was an interesting thing too. I mean, I don't
Yeah,
know exactly what the connection to treatment is, but it sounds like they're part of the treatment regimen
yeah.
and that
And
she
she wanted to see them in the nature, and she did.
yeah,
And
yeah,
that was a sign for her, right?
yep, yep,
So, I
yep,
mean, look, and as she said, and as we titled this, she learned so much. We learned so much
yeah,
for
yeah,
our companion animals.
yep,
They are so pure and they're so wise in so many other ways. We humans get caught up with stuff. They're just pure and simple and
yep,
loving.
yep, yep,
And they don't get really mad. They just enjoy their life,
yep,
right?
yep. And we had our pet loss support group 2 days ago for this month, and there was a person in there very poignantly talked about the wisdom that she's gained. She had lost 5 dogs
Oh
over
my
many, many,
goodness.
many years,
Mm.
as we will when
Yeah, as we get
we have
older.
dogs. And she just talked about the gifts of understanding love and the cycle of love and the cycle of life, and understanding that uh, we only have these relationships for a limited time, and really we only have everything for a limited time. And it kind of goes back to Anne's comment about control as an illusion.
Yeah.
We think we've got everything under control, and we don't have anything under control, really, just a little bit.
Yeah. Well, and that there is a saying that's going around on social media, because I get a lot of information on pet loss and so forth, that I have to remember you longer than I had you with me,
Yeah, yeah,
which I think is so true. It's
yeah,
beautiful, and it's so true,
yeah.
because they just don't live long enough.
And one of the things I just also wanted to comment on is that this is another theme that we see, and it is that in the immediate aftermath of the loss, it feels sometimes hard to hold on to the memories.
Yeah.
And so when we're talking about things like I hope I can remember what
I
his
hope I
feet
can
smelled
remember
like,
exactly.
what Ollie's feet smelled like, and stuff like that. It's very typical that memory is scrambled, short-term memory is
Sure.
scrambled in the immediate aftermath of loss, and then it resettles later. So
Mm.
it's another one of those things that we just want to be kind of kind to ourselves and not feel like we're losing we're losing our minds. We're going
Mm.
through a grief process, which is very just muddling.
Emotionally draining
Yeah,
and discombobulating, right?
yeah, yeah,
Now, the other thing that we've talked about here on some of the podcasts is when those memories start to come back, they are present, it's probably not a bad idea to write them down
yeah,
and to
yeah,
have some kind of memory book that, as the years go by, because remember, years will go by for all of us, most of
yep,
us, depending on our age, but that we want to remember,
yep,
those moments that gave us such joy with that companion animal.
yep.
Yeah.
So we want to thank Melica very much
Yes.
for sharing Ollie's
Yes.
story with
Thank
us.
you.
Thank you so much. We know that it will touch many people, and we know that it takes courage to open up and share this way.
Yes.
So,
It's very intimate. And
yep.
we can maybe talk about next week, right? Because we have a
Sure.
guest.
Yeah. We have a guest.
Um, I have been affiliated with Dr. Sheila McCaffrey, who is a euthanasia acupuncture hospice vet. And so we're going to have her on the program next week, where she can address, these really difficult end of life, situations.
Yep. Yep. So we'll look
So,
forward to that.
mhm.
So thank you again, Nancy. It's always a good
Um,
conversation, and we'll look forward to doing it again next week with our guests.
Take care, everyone.
Bye bye.